Some crimes lie buried under decades of silence, but silence is not justice. Today, we unearth the brutal and long unsolved killing of Margaret Ann Somers, an 87-year-old woman murdered in her own home in Adams County, Pennsylvania. It would take over 35 years before anyone was held accountable. This is A Veil of Crime. New Oxford, Pennsylvania, 1987. A quiet borough nestled in the southeastern corner of Adams County. Church bells toll softly in the morning air. Families open their shops along the town square. And in a modest home nearby, Margaret Ann Somers, a devout elderly woman of 87 years, begins her day. Margaret was known in the community. A widow, she lived alone. Her health was declining, and she rarely left the house, but she remained kind, trusting, and deeply faithful. One summer afternoon in 1987, someone entered Margaret's home. Police would later determine that it wasn't a break-in. There were no broken locks or shattered windows. Whoever it was, Margaret likely let them in. What happened next is unspeakable. Margaret was sexually assaulted and violently murdered. Her small frame, her age, her kindness, none of it spared her. The crime shocked the community, but there were no leads, no clear motive, and the case slowly, quietly went cold. Over the years, the case remained open. DNA evidence had been collected in 1987, but with no match in state or federal systems, it sat in storage, silent, waiting. In the early 2000s, advancements in DNA technology allowed investigators to retest the evidence. Still, no hits. But authorities refused to forget Margaret. Then, decades later, a tip and a name emerged. Christopher Spielman, a man who had lived in the area at the time of the crime. He had a record, and when investigators requested a DNA sample, the results were a definitive match. In 2023, more than 35 years after Margaret's death, Spielman was arrested. He was 59 years old. Faced with the overwhelming DNA evidence, he confessed. In court, he pleaded guilty to third-degree murder and sexual assault. Prosecutors called it a horrifying crime committed against one of the most vulnerable members of the community. A judge sentenced him to 20 to 40 years in prison. Justice, though delayed, had finally come for Margaret Somers. Margaret Somers' story is a reminder that time doesn't erase truth, that kindness, even in the face of brutality, deserves to be remembered, and that with persistence, even the darkest crimes may one day find light. For decades, her case haunted the town of New Oxford. Now, it stands as proof of what patience and forensic science can achieve. She lived alone. She died in silence, and for 35 years, no one answered for her death. But the truth has a way of surviving. This has been A Veil of Crime. For more tales under the veil, subscribe. Until next time, keep your lantern lit.